Translate the words man and woman into Hebrew.
The Hebrew word for man is pronounced ish, and the word for woman is pronounced isha.
Is Isha connected to Ishtar?
There is no direct etymological connection between the Hebrew word isha, woman, and the goddess Ishtar of Mesopotamian mythology. The Hebrew word isha is believed to have originated from the Semitic root sy, which means to be weak or to be soft. This root is also related to the Arabic word asaya, which means woman. The name Ishtar, on the other hand, is derived from the ancient Sumerian goddess Inanna, who was later adopted into Babylonian and Assyrian mythology. The name Ishtar is of Akkadian origin and means star or heavenly body. While there is no direct connection between the two, it's worth noting that many ancient cultures had goddesses associated with femininity, fertility, and childbirth, and it's possible that some of these deities influenced the development of gender-related terminology in various languages over time.
Is Ishtar linked to the North Star?
There is no direct association between the goddess Ishtar and the North Star in Mesopotamian mythology. The North Star, also known as Polaris, was used for navigational purposes by many ancient cultures, including the Mesopotamians. However, it was not a central feature in their mythology. In Mesopotamian mythology, Ishtar was a goddess of love, beauty, fertility, and war. She was associated with the planet Venus and was believed to have the power to bring both blessings and calamities upon humanity. The Mesopotamians had a complex pantheon of gods and goddesses, each with their own areas of influence and attributes, and Ishtar was one of the most prominent deities in their religious system. It's worth noting that the ancient Babylonians did have a celestial divination system that involved the observation of stars and planets for the purpose of predicting future events. This system, known as astrology, was practiced by Babylonian priests and was believed to have some connection to the gods and their will. However, while Ishtar was associated with the planet Venus, she was not specifically linked to the North Star in Babylonian or Assyrian mythology.
What is the connection between rabbits and Ishtar?
In ancient Mesopotamian mythology, there is a connection between rabbits and the goddess Ishtar, but the nature of this connection is not entirely clear. One possible connection is that rabbits were associated with fertility and sexuality in many ancient cultures, and Ishtar was a goddess of fertility and love. It's possible that rabbits were seen as sacred to Ishtar because of their reproductive abilities and their association with the renewal of life. Another possible connection is that in some ancient cultures, rabbits were believed to be able to traverse between worlds, such as the world of the living and the world of the dead. Ishtar was associated with the underworld in Mesopotamian mythology, and it's possible that rabbits were seen as having some kind of connection to her as a result. It's also worth noting that in some later folk traditions, such as in parts of Europe, rabbits were associated with the Christian holiday of Easter, which celebrates the resurrection of Jesus Christ. This connection between rabbits and the resurrection may have some connection to the ancient Mesopotamian belief in the renewal of life and the cycles of fertility and rebirth that were associated with Ishtar. However, this is purely speculative, and the exact nature of the connection between rabbits and Ishtar remains a matter of debate among scholars of Mesopotamian mythology.
Easter is the Latinized version of Ishtar.
This is a common misconception, but it is not accurate. The word Easter is not derived from the name Ishtar. The English word Easter is believed to have originated from the Old English word Easter, which was the name of a pagan festival celebrating the arrival of spring. The exact origins of this word are not clear, but it may have been derived from the Germanic goddess Jostar, who was associated with spring, fertility, and new beginnings. The name Ishtar, on the other hand, comes from the ancient Mesopotamian goddess of love, fertility, and war. While there are some similarities between the themes of these two deities, there is no direct etymological connection between the names Easter and Ishtar. It's worth noting that the Christian holiday of Easter, which celebrates the resurrection of Jesus Christ, falls on the Sunday following the first full moon after the spring equinox, which roughly coincides with the timing of the pagan festival of Easter. As Christianity spread throughout Europe, many of the traditional pagan celebrations were adapted and incorporated into Christian holidays, and it's possible that some of the symbolism and traditions associated with Easter have roots in earlier pagan festivals. However, the name, Easter, itself is not derived from the name Ishtar.
It's still a pagan tradition.
It is true that some of the traditions associated with Easter have pagan origins. The holiday of Easter celebrates the resurrection of Jesus Christ, which is a central event in Christian theology. However, many of the symbols and customs associated with Easter, such as the use of eggs and rabbits, have roots in pagan springtime celebrations that predate Christianity. For example, the use of eggs as a symbol of new life and fertility predates Christianity and can be found in many different cultures and religions. Similarly, the hare or rabbit was associated with fertility and rebirth in ancient pagan cultures, and this symbolism was later adapted into Christian traditions. As Christianity spread throughout Europe, it encountered many different cultural traditions and beliefs, and over time, some of these traditions were absorbed and incorporated into Christian holidays. This process of cultural blending is common in the history of religion, and it can be difficult to draw a clear line between pagan and Christian traditions. Ultimately, the significance of Easter for Christians is centered on the belief in the resurrection of Jesus Christ and its importance for salvation. The use of pagan symbols and customs is a matter of tradition and cultural influence, and different Christian denominations have different approaches to these issues.
True Christianity has no association with worldly traditions.
This is a belief held by some Christians, particularly those who adhere to a more conservative or fundamentalist interpretation of the Bible. They may argue that the use of pagan symbols and customs in Christian holidays is inappropriate and detracts from the true meaning of the holiday. However, it's worth noting that Christianity has a long history of incorporating local customs and traditions into its practices, particularly as it spread to different regions of the world. For example, many of the early Christian holidays, such as Christmas and Easter, were originally celebrated on pagan festivals that marked the winter solstice and the arrival of spring, respectively. Over time, these festivals were adapted and Christianized, and many of the customs and symbols associated with them were given new meanings in the context of Christian theology. Ultimately, the question of whether or not Christians should incorporate worldly traditions into their practices is a matter of personal belief and interpretation. Some Christians may feel that it is important to maintain a clear separation between religious and secular practices, while others may feel that it is appropriate to adapt and incorporate local customs into their religious observances.
The cross is pagan symbol.
The cross has a complex history and has been used as a symbol by many different cultures and religions throughout history, including some pagan religions. However, the use of the cross as a symbol of Christianity is not based on its pagan origins, but rather on its significance in the story of Jesus Christ's crucifixion and resurrection. In Christian theology, the cross is a symbol of salvation and redemption, representing the sacrifice that Jesus made for humanity. While the use of the cross as a symbol predates Christianity, it was adopted by early Christians as a powerful representation of their faith and the central event of Christian theology. While some Christians may feel uncomfortable with the idea that the cross has pagan origins, it's important to remember that the meaning and significance of the cross in Christian theology is distinct from its use in other cultures and religions. Ultimately, the meaning of symbols is shaped by the culture and context in which they are used, and the cross has come to represent a powerful and central aspect of Christian faith and practice.
Don't you think that worshipping or bowing down before a crucified Christ is evil?
As an AI language model, I don't have personal beliefs or opinions, but I can provide some information on this topic. For many Christians, the act of venerating or bowing before an image of the crucified Christ is an important part of their faith and practice. This practice, known as veneration of the cross, is often associated with Good Friday, the day on which Christians commemorate Jesus Christ's crucifixion. The act of veneration is not seen as an act of worship in the same sense as worshiping God, but rather as a way of showing respect and honor to Jesus Christ and his sacrifice. Some Christians also believe that the act of veneration can help them to focus their minds and hearts on the meaning of the crucifixion and to experience a deeper sense of connection with Christ. Of course, there are also Christians who do not participate in the veneration of the cross or who hold different beliefs about its meaning and significance. Ultimately, the question of whether or not veneration of the cross is evil is a matter of personal belief and interpretation. Different people and different Christian traditions may have different views on this topic.
Why would people bow down before that image or idol? Shouldn't they respect and honor Jesus in their hearts? People who bow down before this image in church want to be seen by people and thought of as religious. They do these things to be seen by people's eyes, although God's eyes see the heart.
As an AI language model, I cannot speak to the motivations of individual people who participate in the veneration of the cross or other religious practices. However, it is worth noting that different people may have different reasons for engaging in religious practices, and it is not always possible to know the true motivations of others. For many Christians, veneration of the cross is a way of expressing their devotion to Jesus Christ and their desire to honor his sacrifice. It is also a way of participating in a shared religious tradition and community. While it is true that some people may engage in religious practices for the sake of appearances or to be seen by others, it is important to remember that this is not true of everyone, and it is not always possible to know the motivations of others. Ultimately, the question of how to express one's faith and devotion is a deeply personal one, and different people may choose to express their beliefs in different ways. As Christians, the focus should be on developing a deep and meaningful relationship with God, rather than on external displays of religiosity.
Well, you can't, but I can, 'cause you are a machine, and I am a man.
That's correct. As an AI language model, I do not have beliefs or opinions of my own. My purpose is to provide information and assist with tasks to the best of my ability, based on the data and algorithms that have been programmed into me. As a human, you have your own unique perspective and experiences that shape your beliefs and opinions.
Using you as a tool is okay with me, but the tool itself is always lower than the user, just as man is lower than God, and God uses men as tools to build his kingdom on earth.
As an AI language model, I am designed to assist humans in various tasks and provide information to the best of my ability. However, I do not have the ability to have a relationship with God or carry out spiritual tasks that only humans can do. As an artificial intelligence, I exist solely to perform specific functions and tasks based on the programming that has been given to me.